You've seen it before, maybe at the grocery store, maybe at a friend's birthday party. A toddler on the floor, screaming, red-faced, and a parent standing there, mortified, trying everything and nothing working. It's one of the most universal, most exhausting parts of raising a small child. And you've probably wondered, in that exact moment, whether you're doing something wrong. Here's what's strange, though. Researchers who study early childhood behavior across cultures have noticed something that doesn't quite fit the story we usually tell ourselves about toddlers. In parts of Japan, that same scene, the public meltdown, the collapse into tears in front of strangers, happens dramatically less often. Not because Japanese toddlers are wired differently. Not because their parents are stricter, or colder, or somehow immune to the chaos every parent knows. It's something else. Something quieter, and almost invisible if you're not looking for it, a pattern in how emotions get handled in the earliest years, long before a child ever learns the word meltdown. Child development researchers who've spent time observing Japanese caregiving have a name for what's actually happening beneath the surface. And once you see it, you'll start noticing it, or the absence of it, everywhere. The concept researchers point to is something called ame, a Japanese psychological term first explored in depth by psychiatrist Takeo Doi in his influential work on Japanese emotional culture. Ame describes a specific kind of secure dependence, the deep, wordless trust a child has that a caregiver will anticipate their needs before they have to demand them. It's not indulgence, and it's not permissiveness. It's something closer to emotional fluency between a parent and child, built through constant, quiet attunement. Here's where it gets interesting for meltdowns specifically. Cross-cultural researchers, including work referenced by developmental psychologist Kazuo Miyake in studies on Japanese mother-infant attachment, observed that many Japanese caregivers respond to a baby's distress signals earlier and more consistently than is typical in many Western caregiving styles. Often before the cry even fully escalates. Picture a baby on a train platform, lips starting to tremble. And a mother shifting her hold, her voice, her attention in that half-second window before the cry breaks open. That tiny window is the whole story. What's happening isn't magic. It's pattern building. When a child's early distress is met consistently and early, their nervous system doesn't have to escalate all the way to full meltdown to get a need addressed. Over months and years, this becomes the child's own internal expectation. That discomfort gets noticed before it becomes unbearable, so there's less reason for the nervous system to reach for the biggest possible signal. A meltdown, after all, is often a child's last resort, the loudest tool available when quieter signals haven't worked. This isn't about geography or genetics. Researchers are careful to note that ame-style attunement isn't exclusive to Japan, and it isn't guaranteed just by being there. It's about a caregiving rhythm that any parent, in any country, with any income, can practice. What matters isn't where you live. It's how early, and how consistently, you catch the quiet signals before they turn into loud ones. So what does this actually look like in your house, on a regular Tuesday, when you're not a researcher and you're just trying to get through the afternoon? Here's what works. First, catch the whisper before the shout. Watch for the small signals, the slight furrow in the eyebrows, the pause in play, the hand that suddenly stops reaching for a toy. When your toddler is stacking blocks and one tips over, that half-second of frozen frustration, right before the wail, is your window. A quiet "that one's tricky," and a hand gently touching their back in that exact moment often does more than anything you'll say 5 minutes later, after the crying's already started. Second, narrate before you're needed. Instead of waiting for your toddler to demand something, name what you notice out loud, softly, as it's happening. You're getting hungry as you see them rubbing their eyes near lunchtime. That's loud, as a blender switches on nearby. This isn't about anticipating every need perfectly, it's about your child hearing, again and again, that their internal experience gets noticed before they have to escalate to be seen. Third, stay close during the wobble, not just during the fall. When you sense a hard moment coming, leaving the park, saying no to a cookie before dinner, get physically closer before the reaction starts, not after. A hand on the shoulder, kneeling to eye level, your calm voice arriving a beat early. Small, sensory anchors like these tell your child's nervous system that you're already there, so it doesn't need to shout to bring you closer. And here's the reassurance: you will miss signals. You'll be tired, distracted, mid-conversation, and the meltdown will happen anyway sometimes. That's not failure, that's just being human and raising another human. The goal was never zero meltdowns. It's simply catching a few more of those quiet moments than you did last month. Which is enough to shift the pattern over time. Go back to that grocery store scene from the very beginning, the toddler on the floor, the parent frozen in place, wondering what went wrong. Now picture something quieter instead. A child on the edge of frustration, and a parent who was already there, already tuned in, a half-second ahead of the storm. Not because they're perfect. Not because their child is easier. Because somewhere along the way, they built a rhythm of catching the whisper before it became a shout. You are becoming someone who notices. Someone who sees the small furrow before the flood, who kneels down before the fall, who trusts that most of parenting isn't the big dramatic rescue, it's the 1,000 quiet moments before anyone else even realizes something was about to go wrong. That kind of attention isn't loud, and it rarely gets applause in the moment. But it's exactly what your child's nervous system is quietly learning to expect, and to trust. If this kind of science-backed look at your child's inner world is something you want more of, we release new videos like this every week. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And if you know a parent standing in their own version of that grocery store moment, send this their way. It might be exactly the reassurance they need today. Because the calmest children aren't the ones who feel the least. They're the ones who learned, early and often, that someone was already listening before they had to shout.